Hello everybody, in this video I want to show you a recent mod that I did to this Game Boy Advance, and that is the FunnyPlaying Laminated IPS LCD. And as you can see here, this is an IPS LCD which looks like it sits right on top of the glass, as you can see here, and it consists of all viewable angles, as you can see here. So this is the Game Boy Advance console in which I used for making the Ultimate Game Boy Advance with the mirror clear shell, an ITA DSI bottom LCD mod, new capacitors, clicky LNR buttons, an audio amp, and more, which I did in the spring of this year. And so I decided to upgrade the LCD from the ITA LCD to this beautiful laminated IPS LCD. And as you can see here, not only I used the laminated IPS LCD, I also placed the shell on it with the beige one, despite the fact that it actually looks like Milky White or Arctic White. And the reason I chose this Arctic White shell is that this is pre-cut for the laminated shell, and that I don't have to deal with cutting up my shells in order to fit this laminated IPS LCD into the shell. So that is why I chose a laminated shell. As you can see here, this is beige, even though it's actually looking like Milky White. And currently, FunnyPlaying sells beige, clear white, clear black, clear green, and clear purple shells made for laminated IPS LCDs for the Game Boy Advance. So I'm going to go over the features of this laminated IPS LCD right now for you guys. This laminated IPS LCD mod consists of a screen that sits right on top of the glass, as mentioned before, and no dust will come on top of the LCD or under the screen lens. Anyways, there is a touch sensor right here where it's on the left side of this Game Boy Advance logo, which says game right there. And as you can see, when I touch the touch sensor, I adjust the brightness on the screen. So there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 brightness levels. And if you have the Game Boy Advance at its dimmest brightness setting and you hold the touch sensor for a second, you go back to the brightest. And if you do it again, you dim the screen, as you can see here. So because I installed 3 wires onto the Game Boy Advance motherboard, which the button pads include L, R, and select, I provide OSD functionality. So when I hold select for a second, I get the OSD functionality menu. And as you can see here, I can press R to increase the brightness or L to decrease the brightness. Not only there's brightness, there's also colors that you can change the appearance of the screen. For example, 1 is normal, 2 is highlight, which is brighter, 3 is black and white, and 4 is the Game Boy original screen color to befit the Game Boy original colored screen when playing Game Boy original games. So now moving on to the display, and as you can see, it's 1, which is normal, and 2, which looks, despite being about the same looking, it's actually a little blurrier than 1. So now 3, you get the scan lines, as you can see here, are kind of like retro pixel mold on an AGS-101. It's kind of similar to the pixels on there. So now FRM, which means frames per minute, I think. I'll check on FunnyPlaying soon about that. So if you when you select R, you turn it on, or L off, on, off for R, and L for on or off. I'll check the FRM right now to find out what that really means. Okay, so regarding the FRM, that means frames. If I turn frames on, that means frames would be on, and if frames were off, it would be off. So let me show you what I mean by frames on. Now, even though the display looks exactly the same, I don't really know what frames do on here. Frames would most likely make it the real frame, just like on a real display, maybe. I'm not too sure about it, but off, would act the same. I'm not really sure about the frames feature, but all I know is the brightness, color, and display effects. I'm not really too sure about the frames effects. So anyways, I would recommend this laminated IPS LCD mod due to the fact that the LCD sits right on top of the glass, as well as the OSD functionality. And as mentioned before, the OSD functionality features the way to adjust the brightness, colors, and displays on the screen. And as mentioned before, I chose to buy a pre-cut shell made for this laminated IPS LCD so that I don't have to deal with cutting up the shell on my own. So as you can see here, I'm doing a little bit of a gameplay for Tetris on the original Game Boy with the pixel mode as well as the color Game Boy original filter to befit the original Game Boy screen for the Game Boy Advance. So yeah, this is a great mod and I would recommend it, as mentioned before. So thanks to FunnyPlaying for the laminated IPS LCD. And if you like this video, why don't you give it a thumbs up and make sure you subscribe to this channel for future content. Thanks for watching. Goodbye. By the way, before I end this video, because I have a mirror clear pre-cut battery cover made by Retro6 and Handheld Legend, and I chose this beige white laminated shell, I currently do not have a battery cover pre-cut for the USB-C mod in white. So that's all for this video. Bye.